12 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get things started. A few announcements as always before I introduce today's webinar speaker. This is the Biomass webinar series brought to you by the University of Illinois and Iowa State University as part of our Biomass Innovation Hub outreach. There are several grants that support this work funded through the Department of Energy, the USDA, and through various private donors. Next slide, please, Michelle. Today, I'm delighted to welcome Gaby Blocher, the Chief Executive Officer of Sunflower Fuels. She's part of the series picking up on making products from the crops that you heard discussed in production from Dallas and then Steve and Allison last week. And then we'll move forward in the series next week to hear Brian Peterson describing how we study some of the production and product development. And then we'll conclude the series with Ty Miller of the University of Iowa talking about how they use Miscanthus along with a variety of other fuels to power the University of Iowa. So with that, let's say one word about our upcoming Miscanthus Summit. Next slide, please. As we are excited to have the first International Miscanthus Summit that we host here at the University of Illinois, October 26th through 29th. This is a 4-day meeting, but the first 2 days of it are focused on the exciting science innovations that have been developing in Miscanthus over the last few years, which are really, frankly, game changers. And then if you want to register separately for the industry days, we follow with a trade show and with tours and planting and harvest demonstrations at our one-of-a-kind energy farm, the 320 acres dedicated to studying crops like Miscanthus here at the University of Illinois. So with that, let's get started with today's speaker. I had the chance to first meet Gaby a couple of years ago, and she was part of the founding stakeholder meeting that we had on campus last year that really kind of helped set the stage for our commercialization efforts with Miscanthus in the Midwest. Also the first time I'd really had conversations about using metal detectors to help plant Miscanthus. So if you think you know marginal land, watch out. It's nothing like what Gaby's had the chance to work on. So thank you so much for joining us here today, Gaby. We look forward to your presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. So let me get my screen shared so that that's not an issue. And we're gonna do this and then go back to the beginning. One second, let's see here. Here we go. Okay, continue to share. Everybody should be able to see our title slide here.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, awesome. Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing here at Sunflower Fuels. I'm beginning to share and maybe do a little bit of just sort of testing the waters here. We're going to need to be changing our name sometime in the future. And one that I have really landed on that I really like is Apex Ecological Partners. So that's something we're thinking about. But if in the future you start to see something formerly known as Sunflower Fuels, that's just because I think this title, it's really cool. I like the evocativeness. I like the logo, but it doesn't capture what we're focused on. We're really focused on Miscanthus and carbon and some things that sunflowers are lovely, but it doesn't really have much to do with sunflowers. So anyway, and then I also want to mention I'm a startup CEO. So I'm a CEO of a very small, very early stage startup that's based in Kentucky. I'm not an agronomist. I'm not an expert on this crop. I've been so excited and I'm also not a farmer. Technically, I'm not a farmer at this time. So it's been so wonderful to hear from all of you in this series and over the time that I've been engaged with this group, and looking forward to continuing to do so. I'll just share a little bit about what we've been doing and what we've been trying to do here in Kentucky, and excited to get some feedback, and just hopefully this is a useful sort of overview of our approach to this work that I think we all are in strong agreement is important and useful and going to be part of the future. So a couple of the sections that we'll cover. So I'll cover a little bit about who we are as a company, what we're trying to do, what our platform is, and then I'll talk about our first planting, which was on two reclaimed surface mine sites in eastern Kentucky. I'll share a couple pictures of it and some numbers around what we learned there. And then kind of what we're working on when it comes to commercialization, and then what our long-term plans are as well. And then I've got a little bit about our team, but that's just in the appendix. I don't know if we'll need to get into that. And I'm happy to answer any questions if somebody wants to jump in. I'm not good at doing two things at once. So if somebody wants to jump in and just holler if they have a question, please feel free to. All right, so who are we? This is an image, by the way, in the background of, I believe that's going to be Lost Mountain, one of our two reclaimed surface mine sites. So we're building a biomass supply chain by transforming underutilized land into productive agricultural assets with Miscanthus to support all of the market opportunities that exist for this wonderful product, which I know resonates again with a lot of the folks, what the folks on this call have accomplished already and are working towards. We plan to sell into high value markets like renewable packaging, construction materials, building materials, furniture, and BECS, and then sustainable aviation fuel in the long run. We are currently selling animal bedding. And right now, right up front, I want to mention right away that we have a very key and vital partnership with agrotech. So Travis Hedrick has been amazing. We've worked with him really from day one. The planting that we did is with the rhizomes that they have a license for. So we partnered with them for initial planting. We all learned together a lot about planting on reclaimed surface mine sites. We are selling his Revive bedding product here in Kentucky. So it's an agrotech product that we're selling here in Kentucky with some success. So wouldn't be anywhere here without that partnership with agrotech. So this page, I want to say, as a startup CEO, one of the things I want to share is that the vast majority of conversations that I have with people, we're also raising money, raising capital, and getting out, and so selling the product itself, the bedding product, and then also raising capital. So working on drumming up interest in our company, getting people fired up about this opportunity. The vast majority of the people I've talked to have never heard of this at all, never heard of this crop. And it's really exciting and fun because when I pitch it to them, it's great to generate enthusiasm from people. I gave a pitch recently. I'm a veteran, and I gave a pitch of the company at a veterans event in Cincinnati like about a month ago, and I had like 5 minutes, so I covered 5 minutes again of a room full of people who the vast majority of whom had never even heard of it. And one of the comments at the end was, "This is a total no-brainer. Why don't you have more money?" And I was like, "That's a great question. I wish I had all the money." But it's exciting and fun to be able to share it with people from scratch. But then again, it's kind of a problem because it's really hard to cover it all in these really succinct little pitch time, like an elevator pitch or a lightning pitch session. It's really hard to cover everything that's possible to cover. So that said, that's exactly what this page is meant to do. It's like bam, bam, bam. It's the mean residence time of carbon is amazing. Extensive root system. Oh my gosh, look how big it is. This is a picture of Brutus Clay, one of our founders, and then Dr. Jeffrey Skousen in West Virginia at a reclaimed surface mine site in West Virginia. It sequesters carbon, very high yield, and then it thrives in marginal soils. I want to share this number. I don't think talked explicitly with you, Emily, about this number of 30 plus years or any of the other folks on the call, but that number came from a visit that I had in the UK to some fields, some production sites that were 30 years old and still producing. So that was really cool, and that's why we have that number in here. So our platform, again, we're really focused on just kind of setting everything up again, specifically here in Kentucky. So one way to look at it, some of I'll note there's another slide in this that covers like some of the things that we've started to chip away at on this page. And what we're showing here as a linear progression also could be shown potentially as a cycle, but all around, again, acquiring and leasing land. So engaging either landowners that want to sell their land and put it in production or lease it. The land that we have engaged already is via a lease with a company called Kentucky River Properties. And then planting the miscanthus, then harvesting it again on a yearly basis, processing it, selling. Right now, we're selling animal bedding. We plan to sell into all the other market opportunities as well. And then again, I would say this could be a cycle as well. We like this location because of the climate, the fact that there is ample available unused land. Right now, we're really focused on specifically Eastern Kentucky, which has some advantages in the form of, again, available unused land. It has some disadvantages in the form of accessibility to that land because it's super mountainous, and that's something we're kind of dealing with. But it brings value to landowners, farmers, rural communities, and then ultimately all the customers that would put the product to use. We are, as I mentioned, we're raising capital right now. We're getting some interest, having some wonderful conversations with folks that fund companies that create economic development in particularly specifically Eastern Kentucky. So that's some exciting conversations. These are all percolating. There's not a lot to report right now, so I'll mention it to everybody and say, please send good energy out into the universe about it. But yeah, this again, similar. I'm having these conversations with folks that are focused on economic development and underserved communities, and they're super pumped about everything that I share about all of this. So fun conversations and hopeful about it. So lessons from the field. So as I mentioned, we have planted on a grand total of about 15 acres of miscanthus. We also planted some switchgrass, but we planted miscanthus on two reclaimed surface mine sites in Eastern Kentucky. One is actually in Perry County and one is in Knott County. Lost Mountain and then Mesa Knob. These are very typical reclaimed surface mine sites, decommissioned back in the 70s and 80s, have been fallow. One of them is really used as a recreational site. The other is rented by a resident who lives there and built a small property there. Very interesting pieces of land, not huge. And then one of them is more accessible than the other. One is kind of off of really main road, very, very not too far off a main road, and the other one's kind of up in the holler. It takes a while to get to. We got a couple of grants from the Commonwealth of Kentucky that helped us fund this, along with some private funding. The planting was done in November of 2024. It's looking great. Travis from Agrotech, and you can see one of his specialized Freedom Giant Miscanthus planters that was used to do this planting in November of 2024. He was there in the spring of this year, and he estimates that we probably have about a ton per acre in yield. We have not yet harvested. We plan to do so this fall. But yeah, it's looking really good. We're really excited to see what we've been able to see there. Again, two sites. Each is about 7.5 acres, so a total of about 15 acres. We got a lot of information about by doing this, and we have written a white paper that I'm happy to share with anyone who's interested in it, just around what we learned from doing this. Can miscanthus grow successfully on these types of site? How much does it cost, and can it become commercial? The very last question is something we really still need to answer. We've started to answer it by selling Travis's product, the Revive bedding, but we have yet to start to solve the problem about doing it ourselves, harvesting it ourselves, processing it ourselves, potentially bagging it right here in this local area. We have some potential solutions to that, but we're not there yet. So, I mean, I think this is something probably everyone here knows, but it's definitely heavy on our mind and important for us. We need to, thinking through where we do our planting, soil composition, surface rock density, other contaminants in the soil like metal. Drainage, existing vegetation. These are all things to take into account that we had to take into account in the selection of these two sites, and we'll need to continue to do so as we continue to strive towards our first larger scale planting. And then whether or not we can get the equipment where it needs to go, if we have, I would add to whether we have labor, so both labor and equipment. So is there somebody available to do the work? So we contract everything. We're a tiny team and we engage with local labor and equipment to do the work. And so, yeah, anyway, just a few things that to consider as we look for our next site, next couple of sites. Um, and so, okay, so this is the process that we went through some very hard lessons learned, I would say, on these two reclaimed surface mine sites. So we cleared vegetation, um, and we tilled. And then we knew that we were going to need to do rock crushing because these are really rocky locations. In the process of doing the rock crushing that we did on these two sites, we experienced damage to the teeth of the rock crusher that we rented. It was really expensive to rent a rock crusher, have it delivered to this location, and then start to operate it. This is a specialized piece of equipment. The folks who operated it were specialized and had specialized training and experience in operating this large rock crusher. But they said to us they had never seen such such difficult rocks to deal with. Travis and I have some maybe over a beer at the bar in Illinois in a couple weeks stories about that experience. But there was damage to the teeth of the rock crusher. And they were thinking that was because of the rocks, but really it was because there was extensive metal debris left at these reclaimed surface mine sites. So once it was figured out that that's what was causing this damage to these teeth, and we had to cover the cost of replacing a bunch of teeth, we put into practice just having a metal detector and literally walking in front of the rock crusher to determine if there was metal debris, removing the metal debris before starting to try to crush rock, and then going to the process of rock crushing. And then after that, it's just the thing that Travis has done a million times, which is till and then put the rhizomes in the ground using that Freedom Giant Miscanthus piece of equipment, and then that's it. So once it was in the ground, once we went through all this, again, it's been going quite well. So this I expect to be a quite shocking slide, maybe the most shocking slide I have in my deck. It was really expensive. It made it extremely expensive. I would say untenably expensive to do things the way that we did things in on these two reclaimed surface mine sites. The rock crushing you can see is the biggest number here. It was very expensive to deal with this. This includes this running into this major issue when it came to the metal. That's where that cost is included. Next time around, I think we can save literally thousands of dollars by removing the metal debris before even having the rock crusher there and having it on site. We also incurred extra costs because of the delay. So we had equipment and folks on site for longer than they needed to be because of this delay that came from the cost of removing all this metal and how expensive it was to crush the rock. Better to do it on Better to do it on more ready land, but we here at Sunflower Fuels definitely have not given up on these reclaimed surface mine sites. I think there are better sites, more accessible sites, and then there's a more efficient way to approach putting these sites in production than what we did the first time around. We hope that everyone can learn from what we experienced this first time around. So yeah, I think I've covered all this stuff. One thing I haven't gotten into is based on some recommendations from Emily and team. We did do a baseline soil analysis in partnership with the county extension agent there in Perry County. So we have good data, baseline data about the composition of the soil there. We've just begun conversations with them about doing the next round because it will have been 2 years since the crop's been in the ground. So we're excited to do a second round of soil analysis and assessment. The white paper that I said I'm more than happy to share with anyone who wants to see it has our baseline soil analysis, and we'll do again the follow-up in the very near term, and happy to share that as well. We're hopeful to see some interesting impacts on that very degraded soil there. So I think we've covered all this stuff as well. So a little bit about what we're doing now. So again, I'm a startup CEO running a small company, raising money and pitching our company all the time. So this is one of the first things that I love to share with folks right away when it comes to the market opportunity. So animal bedding, which is the market that we're in right now, we're having great success selling into the sport horse sub-market of the equine bedding market, which is going really well. It's interesting. We have happy customers. They find that they spend less on their bedding. Their horses are healthy. Part of the reason they spend less is because they use way less of it. They have to muck out the stalls much less frequently. So that's going really well. Travis has had a lot of success selling into the poultry bedding market. We'd love to try to get into that as well, and other small animals. We've had other discussion with other livestock owners. And so just looking to build up that market opportunity, build up demand here in Kentucky so that we have a ready-made market once we are ready to harvest the plantings that we do here. And then I also always share the long-term market opportunity of sustainable aviation fuel. That is the reason the word fuels is in our company name is because of SAF. We have an origin story around our founders having an idea around doing some work. They were doing some work with GE Aviation, which is based in the Cincinnati area, and they were discussing SAF and how SAF is so in demand and so much is needed. There's not nearly enough supply, and they had this eureka about Miscanthus being the right solution to that. I would say since that eureka, this market opportunity has gotten a little bit further into the future. It's something that definitely that's still on our mind and still something we see as exciting for the long run. Again, a little bit about what we're doing right now. We have a healthy pipeline. We're working on sales, so we are always being closing. We're talking to again horse owners throughout the Commonwealth, having great conversations with retailers, talking to them about the benefits of this bedding, and just again working on selling the bedding as much as we can. We have a nice healthy pipeline and are having conversations a lot. We'll do like a trial with folks. So if somebody expresses an interest, we will bring them 6 bags or some amount of bags for them to trial, and we'll talk to them about how to use it, and it's all going really well. So all that means that we have, again, I think I showed an earlier page just around all the things that we are trying to tackle. Again, you can look at this as a cycle or linearly, however you want to, but all the things we're trying to tackle here in Kentucky. We want to do farming of Miscanthus, harvesting it, storing it, transporting it around the Commonwealth to Kentucky and away from Kentucky when needed. processing it, and then engaging customers. So we're happy to say that we've explicitly engaged four of those. So we have a planting. It's going really well. We have yet to harvest it. We hope to do that in the coming months, near term, this kind of harvest season, this winter, fall or winter. We have a great partnership with a warehouse in central Kentucky that stores the pallets of Revive bedding that we have coming to us from Travis's team at Agrotech, and that's amazing. We also have long haul and then short transport solutions here. We have folks who can deliver 1 to 2 pallets within the Commonwealth, and then larger number of pallets longer distances, which is great to be able to just know how to make a phone call and get that done. We have yet to process a planting here in Kentucky, but we have a couple of exciting potentials for that. One came from Travis. There's a potential bagging partner in Mount Orab, Ohio, which could be really helpful. And then a couple of other exciting opportunities around how to process. So we'll figure that out in the very near term. And then again, we do have customers. We have bedding customers here, and we're courting other folks as potential customers. So all important work that we've begun to chip away at and figure out. So again, why this matters, it's there's economic development opportunities for jobs, opportunities for landowners, opportunities for just customers who need this product, working on addressing all of those and taking advantage of those. Of course, we all know the carbon benefits, so we are so happy to see how well our initial planting, our pilot planting has done, and we're excited to put some numbers around that when we do our soil analysis in the coming weeks. Actually, that should be really near term. So yeah, all great stuff. So looking forward, this is another page that I end up sharing with, again, prospective investors or anybody who wants to hear about our company. All of these market opportunities are huge and growing. So animal bedding is the one that we're already in. It's huge and growing. Renewable food packaging. We have a company here in Kentucky called Canbol, Kanbol, and they use corn stover to produce packaging exactly like what you see here on this page. And we're courting them around considering another, we think much better feedstock to produce the renewable food packaging. And then, yeah, all these other ones, Bex as well. That's another one. So Bex, I don't remember, Emily, if you and I talked at any length about that, but that's another one that I think when sunflower fuels came to be, there was some more vigorous conversation around Bex happening in a nearer term than I would say now is the case. It's not that big of a deal to us because I think all these other opportunities are huge and existing right now, but in the future, it could be the case that Bex could be an opportunity here in this region, and we think Miscanthus is a great feedstock for Bex, of course. So again, where we are, so we planted. We've begun to gather some data and written a little bit, kind of consumed and synthesized information from this planting. We've begun to sell, so we're engaging the market here. In the next 2 to 3 years, I would say actually potentially the next 2 to 3 months, we hope to begin to address the issue of regional processing and then get into all these other diverse end markets in the long term. And that's it. This QR code connects to my LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to connect with any of you at more length or in any more detail than I have today. And I'm also happy to answer any questions that I'm able to right now. And I thank you all for taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much, Gaby. I know I have a couple of questions. Everyone, if there's one in the chat from Nibel, could you describe how you plan to enter the BECS market or the carbon dioxide removal market to the degree that that's possible? What steps do you think are required?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of conversations over the years now. So this company, our company was founded in 2022. I've been on board since 2024, and we are in touch with Drax out of the UK, and then Ample Carbon, um, both of whom have looked in this region with converting a power plant into a BECCS plant. At that time, when that time and again, I would say 2 years ago, that seemed closer on the horizon than it is now, from my perspective, based on what I'm seeing in the conversations I'm having with those two entities. But the answer to your question is we would like to enter into a long-term feedstock agreement with an end user that needs reliable, uniform, sustainable access to a nice uniform biomass, Miscanthus. So a long-term feedstock agreement whereby they articulate where they need it and how much they need it for and how much they're willing to pay for it. And then we go out and find the land and plant the Miscanthus to meet the needs of that end user. And that answer is the same for these other kind of off in the distance long-term market opportunities as well, like SAF. So yeah, feedstock agreements is the short answer.
Thanks. Um, Andy, I saw you turned your camera on. Does that mean you had a question? Yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation, Gabriel. I really appreciate it. Great energy. I guess maybe a little bit of pun intended. A lot of exciting stuff, and I've never seen someone be so optimistic about such a challenging agronomic setup.
Oh, it's
For
hard. No, no, no. Yeah.
the
Some
rock
days
crushing sounds
you might
crushing
not get
stuff.
that energy. Yeah. Yeah.
Emily's been building this up as one of the most marginal sites you can imagine. So I appreciate that you've mucked through it. The
Good.
question I have is, what are some things, what are some questions, what are some pieces of information you'd like to get insight on, from like the people who are doing research on Miscanthus? What are some of the things that would enable you to make some easier or better decisions and questions you have? Because I think there's probably some opportunity for us to help out in that space too.
Yeah. So what do I need to know from folks who know more about who are miscanthus, have more expertise on miscanthus than I do?
What are
That's
we, we might not know it yet, but what might we be able to
Yeah.
learn that you would like to know?
Um, Gosh, I mean, I have Travis responds to my texts and phone calls. So like he's my, of course, he's my go-to. We have many long and deep conversations. I mean, and have over the years. And he has so much experience. I mean, I might just answer your question. Might not be really an answer to your question, but again, I'll just state a problem that we have, which is we just really are continuing to work to build up the market opportunity and make it clear that the opportunity is real and engage end users slash customers for the use of this crop. So um, uh, I don't know it's not really there's not really anything that comes to the top of my mind right now around that. I mean, I'll say too, I would love to share the white paper and get feedback from you all about that, and then share the soil analysis that we do. It's not we won't be doing it. It's the county extension agent. We would like to share both of those things with you once we have both of those things in the fall and get your thoughts and feedback and guidance.
Great. I would appreciate a
Yeah.
conversation then, and I'm really glad that you've made as much progress as you have already. So thank you for that.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay, there's another question in the chat from Rob, and this is a bit of a tricky one. I wonder,
Okay.
Andy, if you could find the Wang paper, uh, the Wang 2025 paper, and put it in here. Oh, maybe Damien's going to have us. Damien, are you going to answer this question? Hi, Damien. It's a pleasure to see you.
No, I've got my own question.
Okay, great. Well, maybe Damien could answer this question as well. But so the question is a tricky one. It should be a simple one. When the biofuels industry makes SAF from Miscanthus, how much SAF is made and how much CO2 are come from 1 ton of Miscanthus biomass? And so, Gabby, go ahead and take a stab at that if you've got
No, no, no.
examples.
I have I've been asked that question in a maybe slightly different form in the past, and so, and it's not the answer is not at the tip of my tongue. I would dig up how I answered that question in the past in order to answer it. But yeah, I don't know if somebody else on the call has a better answer than that one, which is not an answer at all. I didn't give an answer at all.
So I'm going to
Okay.
put a link to some work that Alder Renewables did. So Alder
Yeah.
does have a SAF pipeline for Miscanthus that it's just moved to phase 2 grant stage with the Department of Energy, and
Mhm.
has written some work on this, including an LCA analysis. But I think what Andy just put in the chat is a more comprehensive analysis from some of our colleagues that did a combined techno-economic and LCA with some of our field data.
Awesome. And Damien, do you still have a question? Do you have another question?
I do have another question, but I also
Okay.
now I've read the question, like I do kind of want to react to that one. I also don't have a good answer to it, but thinking about the question, like it perhaps makes a difference which source of CO2 that they're thinking about. Like, if you are you talking about fossil CO2 from all of the equipment, that all of the processing, the diesel and the things that are moving around, or are you talking about carbon that was in the biomass that is not in the product that goes back to CO2? Because I think that the normal life cycle analysis treat those quite differently,
Hmm.
because the assumption that any carbon that's in the biomass that goes back to CO2, like that's part of a circular system, right? That was in the air. The plants took it out of the air. It was
Hmm.
in the plant, and then it goes back to the air. So like that shouldn't be on the balance sheet. Whereas obviously every gallon of diesel you use should be subtracted from the amount of carbon that you've stored or you've avoided being emitted. So just yeah, I just trying to understand whether the question was talking about one of those versus the other.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think again, we've had guidance in the past from discussions with your team, Emily, about this very topic, about how to assess the carbon impact that we are having, and yeah, I think that it needs to take into account all of the shipment of rhizomes that occurred from North Carolina to where we are, shipping that awesome rock crusher from from as far away as it was shipped, and then operating it and all the things that, yeah. So yeah, all that would need to be taken into account to assess our carbon impact of these two plantings for sure. If that, I don't know if that addresses your question, but
I think we've spent enough time on that for now. We could spend a whole session on that. And in fact, there will be a whole session on roughly that at the Miscanthus Summit. So,
great.
Damien, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is perhaps reflecting on Andy's in terms of what the university systems could do. Like, it sounds like you have some specific requirements for the sites that would be optimum, and I wonder if there's a way of helping you identify what those are, like a mapping system, whether that is existing data from reclaimed mine sites, whether that's satellite data. That would help narrow it down when you do get new demand in a certain location, so that you don't have to have so many people out looking for looking at the size of rocks in the field, whether there's some way of making that more efficient, and just knowing how big is this opportunity space and where are they, would be something that I could imagine being helpful for you, and from our side, understanding kind of how big is this opportunity space on this claimed mine land.
Yeah, yeah, that's a future problem. But because yeah, we there's some other items on the critical path in the meantime that we have to be focused on, which again includes continued demand creation and raising of capital, and that sort of thing. But then we also, there are a couple resources that we have been exposed to around that, I think via this group, um, that that yeah, we would expect to put to use when the time comes that but yeah, we're not at a stage right now where we've got a bunch of folks running around looking at land. That's not happening yet. We have some other things we have to figure out in the meantime, unfortunately.
Thanks for that. I think Andy's got one more, but I just wanted to comment that I think one of the lessons learned from 20 years of working on Miscanthus in this country, and I guess now 30 plus in your former country, Damien,
Mm.
um, is that if supply and demand and infrastructure, and I include policy in that infrastructure, are unbalanced, then projects fall apart. And it's not necessarily to a specific failing in the supply or the market or even policy instruments at time. It's just that they're out of whack.
Mhm.
It's problematic. So I guess I just wanted to commend you, what Sunflower or Apex is doing here, that you are really working to balance your supply with your demand prior to expanding the supply.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's a struggle. That's a struggle. And actually, my board chair and I just talked through this very topic a couple of days ago. And yes, I appreciate that. It's a struggle. Yeah, we don't want to do work without knowing that all of the all of those things are aligned. So yeah, appreciate it.
Certainly, it presents opportunity for vertical integration for those who have those
Right.
investment dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Andy.
Okay, so the simpler question was you mentioned the revenue on a slide, and I just wanted to know the area and the acres that it came from. I think you said there was a couple of 5 acre areas combined for that. So the area that generated the revenue you mentioned earlier, and then if you could just speak in terms of acres for that timeline that you showed later for the path forward that you think is kind of just a pie in the sky trajectory. So the first one's just the $60,000 of revenue question.
That's all from reselling. It's not our acreage. It's all from reselling Travis's supply. So
Okay.
Travis has, yeah, he has a Revive bedding product that's from Iowa.
Okay.
And we have an agreement with him whereby we ship it here to Kentucky and then store it here in Kentucky and resell it.
Okay, cool. And then can you talk acres on this slide?
Yeah, so we are hoping to get to 200 to 300 acres sometime. We would love to try to get that done sometime in the next year. Um, and then uh, and then we've identified uh, something more along the lines of I would say 50,000 acres around Kentucky that is available and unused and could be put to use with this. So yeah, we would love to get up into the tens of thousands over the course of the next several years.
Excellent, thank you.
There's some other nuts that need to be cracked in order to get to that, but yeah, the opportunity is there, we believe.
And we do have time for one more question if there's one remaining from the group here. I know we have a lot of people joining that do tend to jump off right around this time as they finish their lunch hour. So I think I do have one quick question, or maybe quick, but
Mhm.
certainly the landscape has changed since Sunflower came onto the scene, and it
Yeah.
has been evolving rapidly, in some cases slowly for all of us. But what is one of the biggest surprises that you've seen, as someone who didn't have necessarily this background before coming into this company, Gabby? Like, what's a take from the outside world that's come into Miscanthus?
I mean, I this is really simple and uh it's just simple, but there is a believe I believe it now that I've seen it, a perspective that I have around the how hardy this stuff is on these two reclaimed surface mine sites. I can't imagine a more inhospitable soil to do plant. I mean, there's like standing water, on one of them. There, again, all this debris, just, and we have not done anything to it. We put it in the ground. My military phrase that I use in relation to this is fire and forget. There are fire and forget like missiles, and like you shoot them and then they just go and they get to the target. And that's what I think about this crop. It's just been amazing to see how that has gone. So again, it's like the simplest thing, but it's true.
Well, I think that's a great way to end it. Andy shot up a bunch of rocket ships for you while you sent that. So thank you all very much. This actually sets up Brian Peterson really well for next time, because we haven't been able to grow miscanthus in necessarily as many places as we need to get a data record from the crop that allows us to predict future performance. So Brian's going to be talking about how we think it will perform in new locations and how long. It's like Brian should be able to allude a little bit to that 30-year time horizon that you had there, Gaby, and
Great.
see what we're learning. So
Awesome.
thank you all very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you all.